Hello all. Right, this video is, I think it's Dutton Martinez. Mate, if I've said your name wrong, I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting, but I've written it down. And he asked me a couple of weeks ago, and he said, how much should you charge end user customers? And like I've said before with the CX, with these kind of things, it's not quite that straightforward. You know, it's not just I wish I could give you a graph. If you're here at this time and you do and you pay and you bid this, you'll win it, or you charge that. Doesn't work that way. The short answer is as much as you can, but then that comes with a caveat. So what you've got to bear in mind when you've got an end user customer is when you're running on the exchange, you're doing jobs for other people's end user customers. So what will happen is there'll be a customer, he'll ring the shipper, and then that shipper will put the job on the exchange, and that shipper will then want to take his bit out of it, and then you get the rest. You can, if you're lucky, get as much as 100%. So say for example, you could get a job off on the exchange. Say for example, it's, let's say it's a Luton van, and you're charging 150, or you're expecting to pay 150 a mile. You could charge your end user customers as much as £3. The problem you've got is, if the more money you charge your end user customer, the more likely there is that then eventually they'll get the needle and go somewhere else, or someone else will ring them up, or someone else will put a flyer through the door, and they'll just ring the number by accident, or just ring it, just chance it and go, okay, how much are you charging for like 100 miles in a Luton van? And they might go, well, we'll do that job for 200 quid. Like, 200 quid? I'm paying £300. I know when I was doing work, when my wife was working at the building firm, I put quotes in for moving signs, and I was putting in quotes in a Luton van for £200. She said we used to pay £400, and we've moved from £400 for a firm that's charging £600. So that firm was making big money, but that firm also lost their punter. So with that in mind, I think it kind of makes some sense to be realistic. Also, you can have a sliding scale. Some people will pay more than others. Some customers will go, well, you know, you can bid, you can turn around and say the job's £3 a mile. They'll go, fine. Another customer will go, £3 a mile? That's way too much. I can't afford to pay that. Then what do? Do you charge one customer £3 a mile because they're happy to pay it, and then another customer say £2 a mile, just making the 50p on the Luton job, still making money? Well, then what happens if those customers talk? That first one's not going to be very happy, is he? So what I think you need to do, and what we do, is you set up a price structure. So we go, well, okay, we put long wheelbase, you know, a Luton van, we'll charge them £2 a mile. If it's a sort of a small van, the way things are at the moment, it's probably 150 a mile and stuff like that. And that's standard. And then, you know, but you've got to take into account, of course, the time of the job, how far the job's going, where the job is going to, because, you know, if you're going to send someone in the middle of nowhere, you've got a much less chance of them actually bidding on it. But trying to find a price, the best way I find to do it is to work out what the jobs are going for. I've got to do one on going rate, and then try to work your pricing structure around that. And I would say, don't be greedy. I would say, on the whole, you want to be looking to charge your end user customer between a quarter and a third of what the job is. So if the job came in at, say, 150, you want to move it on at £200. If a job came in at, like, you know, yeah, again, or comes in at £135, £200 maybe for that job, you work out which price structure works for you. And you've also got to take into account, you have got your expenses, you have got your time, your computer time, maybe your office time, you've got posting stuff. You've got the possibility that maybe your end user customer might go belly up, and you've still paid out for vans and stuff like that. You have to factor all these things into the equation. But I would say I would be looking to charge an end user customer anything from I think, you know, a third is quite a reasonable amount to ask for, a third to a quarter. I also know some firms, and I mean, I've heard of stories in the past of certain firms that I've done, like the decking, they were putting jobs on there. These were jobs that they were selling for £450, £500 job, multi-job jobs in an 18 ton. And they go, we've got 20 quid on these. 20 quid? You can't make money on 20 quid. All that has to happen is for one place not to be open, or a bit of waiting time, or a redelivery. You're doing money, so be sensible about it. But like I say, there's no hard and fast rule. I like to know what other people are charging, but everybody seems to go a bit secret squirrel. But what we tend to do, I think if you could get about, you know, with 25% of the job. So if the job was £150, you'd be looking for another 50 quid for yourself. I don't think that's greedy. It also takes into account your turnover. How many customers have you got? What's your relationship? It's not that straightforward, but that's and that is just my opinion. Like I say, I'm out running lorries. I'm not a shipper. I don't, the office is shippers, and I could have rung them, but I didn't. I'm out there running a truck. Soon, eventually, I may end up spending more time in the office, and then I'll be better placed to actually give you the advice. But that's what I would be looking for. I would be looking, if you're lucky, and you've also got to bear in mind that there are possibilities where sometimes that job that normally sells in a Luton van 100 miles for 150 quid, so you charge your customer £200, and then there's right place, right time rings up and goes, I'm dead opposite, and it drops opposite my house. Mate, you can have that job for 90 quid. In which case, you still charge your customer £200 and you win on that one. The thing about being a shipper, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You take the rough with the smooth. You work 52 weeks a year. You don't take your profit on a daily basis. You work it across. And if at the end of the day you're still winning, well done you. But this is really more of an opinion than an informed opinion, because like I say, I'm out there running in the truck. I'm not behind the office. I'm not in the computer. So I'm sure we will get some discussion about this on the Q&A, and I'm sure everybody will put me right, because you've got to bear in mind that pretty much everything I say is wrong, or at least largely erroneous. Hope that helps. Let's look forward to seeing what the responses are. Take care. Take money.